Welcome back to the Great Minnesota Recipe. Last time we traveled to Vergas, Minnesota to meet Tamara Tanksley, a professional chef with Southern roots. Today we're headed to the small town of Buhl, Minnesota. This tight-knit, welcoming community on the Iron Range is the hometown of our next cook, Susie Saccoman. My friend Sharon met up with Susie at Billy's Bar to make some delicious Italian food.
Funding for the Great Minnesota Recipe is provided by Doherty Appliance Service and Sales, the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, and viewers like you. Thank you.
My name is Susie Saccoman, and I am 50 years old. I'm from Buhl, Minnesota, right here.
Okay, so I'm really excited to see where you grew up. So we're on Memorial Drive, right? This
Yes.
is like the main drag, would you say, through the city?
No, I mean, maybe back in the day, this used to be like the main highway.
Okay.
But this is Memorial Drive, and this is where we grew up my whole childhood. Our door was orange, but you know what's so cool is that I grew up with the kids that now, I grew up with a kid who bought this house with her husband. Julie! Yeah. Hi! Hi! Oh my gosh, they're here.
Hi.
I just have to give you a hug. We come home here to Buhl, not nearly enough, but whenever we do over the years for reunions or just weekends, it's every time we come home, it's just really a special thing. We have a lot of Buhl community members that still stayed here the whole time, so I always think about them and thank them that if it wasn't for all of our Buhl people that stayed and didn't leave, I don't think Buhl would be quite the same, but when we come home, there's just that feeling like we're home again, you know?
How do you think the Buhl community has really affected your cooking? Especially even when you were young, right? I mean, have you been cooking all your life?
I've been around, like, in my opinion, the best cooks all my life. And I think my Nana, my dad's mom, and of course my auntie and my mom and my mom's mom, and also my godmother who lives right up the street, Tona. They were all the strongest influences in my cooking were strong women. We were always in the kitchen. My Nana would make homemade ravioli and homemade spaghetti, and every single Sunday, my mom and dad would load us in the station wagon and we'd go to Nashwauk every Sunday, and 20 of us would eat together every Sunday, and my Nana would cook everything. Homemade sauce and meatballs, and you know, we fed each other it was all just the way we loved each other, you know, being around food and tasting the food and, you know, watching these women cook the food and serve the food. It was love.
Susie, I'm so excited. Okay, now tell me what we're making today.
Homemade gnocchi with red sauce and meatballs.
Yum. I'm so excited. Okay. Is there a specific potato that you use that you prefer?
Yes, good question. I really love the Yukon Golds.
Are they just easier to work with for the gnocchi?
You can use any potato, really. It's just my preference to use Yukon Golds. And so if you want, Sharon, you could just cut this potato into quarters.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
I do not mind.
It's so much fun cooking with somebody because it's like cooking with my students. Although they always did this part and then I did that part.
So now you're a teacher. You mentioned students. Are these big enough? Are these too
Perfect.
big or too small? Okay,
Nope,
now tell me
perfect.
who you teach.
I taught 5th grade in Minneapolis for 22 years, but I've been teaching 5th grade since 1994. And I got my first teaching job in Windhoek, Namibia, 94 to 96.
So from Buhl, Minnesota.
First time flying.
Wow! What an adventure.
It was so cool. Then I came back home and I started teaching in Minneapolis in 1999.
And the water's boiling.
Yep,
right?
and it's boiling and it's a little hot, but I just check that they're fork tender probably about 15 minutes in.
Same as like mashed potato, would you say?
That's
All right.
exactly what we're doing.
Now tell me, you said you were a teacher. You told me you are a teacher.
Yes.
How has your cooking spilled into your teaching?
My students from 22 years in Minneapolis schools, they would tell you we would have recipe day with Miss Saccoman. We did it often. I usually did it for like an incentive for doing well, or maybe once a month or more. Sometimes I'd make gnocchi dough the night before, and I'd bring everything, and the kids, they'd all have aprons on, and they'd be able to, what I always did when I cooked with them is I would show them a demonstration of everything, and then then I'd give them all the clean surfaces, and they'd roll out the gnocchi. So I had my African American kids and my Somali kids and all my students from all backgrounds rolling gnocchi, and 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 8th grade. Kids with terribly difficult challenges behaviorally, or my autistic kids, nonverbal autistic kids. Watching them in the kitchen was extraordinary. It really was.
When you're giving them a piece of Buhl.
Yeah, they were always like, I can't believe we made sauce with just those vegetables. I always buy ragu, I'm like, don't ever buy ragu again. We'll start on our meatballs.
Okay.
I'm gonna start by getting 1 onion and some garlic.
Okay. Would you like me to prep the garlic for you?
Sure.
How many cloves would you like?
Let's go with 4. Because I'm putting these in my meatballs, I want the onions to be as finely diced as possible.
Okay.
Okay, so we have onions and some great garlic there.
Yep.
And so usually like just a tid when you wanna gather, then you use the back of your knife.
Great tip.
So that you don't make the knife dull. And then that's ready to go. So I'm just gonna get, I'll bet you any money, so let's take one out.
All right.
Because
Test
you
it out.
cut them so nice,
Thank you.
and they're gonna be really hot. But can you cut through it?
Yep.
Perfect.
Easily.
All done.
Beautiful.
So we turn
Wow,
this
it's
one,
beautiful.
and we got this ready.
All right, we're gonna drain these potatoes.
These are gonna have to be drained. And then I'll get this fun little pan going here.
Okay, now what's the pan for?
This is gonna be for our onion.
Now we're gonna sweat it out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So a little bit of that olive oil.
Okay. There you go.
Ooh, it's hot in the kitchen.
Feels good.
Okay, so this.
Okay. Are you on medium heat there? Or
Yeah,
what?
I'm gonna
Okay.
turn it, because these gas stoves are pretty powerful. Now that they're going, I'm just gonna turn it down and leave them so I don't have to worry about it. The only time that I use this thing, it's a ricer,
Okay.
but the reason why I use it for gnocchi is because then it makes the potatoes super smooth, and definitely in gnocchi I don't want lumps.
Okay, so you don't have a ricer at home. You can still make this.
You can, just a lot of times people will whip their mashed potatoes. Just think of making mashed potatoes as creamy as possible. And then what I do is I let the potato cool
Okay.
and move back on to the meatballs.
Do you let them cool on the countertop, or do you need them? Okay.
Just in the counter.
Your Italian influence and Yugoslavian influence,
Yeah.
and the community of Buhl. Really, what does it mean to you, and taking all those parts of your family history and your community, and how it's affected your cooking?
I joke because in Buhl we kind of suffer from high self-esteem. It's like, I think it's just the way I was raised is there's this confidence, and the Italian culture, or when I grew up, it was like extremely affectionate. I think now that we're a little bit older, my brothers and I talk about this all the time, we can appreciate things that we didn't really realize, and now that we're looking back. And I'm really, really, really fortunate. You know, you hear about so much pain and different things, you know, people having tough childhoods, and, you know, I have no memories of anything except love. And I also want the onions to cool a little bit before I put them in the meatballs, and it's perfect because they will cool before the meatballs are ready for them. There we go.
So what we have here is, would you say 2 pounds of beef, 1.5 pounds of pork?
It's a pound and a pound.
Pound and a pound.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm just putting 2 eggs.
2 eggs, okay. So you do mix basil and Italian parsley together.
Yep. So we have our eggs, pork, beef, 1 pound each, herbs, and then
Oh, Parmesan. So you
I
just
think
kind of
people like-
sprinkle. You just kind of sprinkle how much you want, or
yeah, I usually do about a half a cup.
Okay.
And in my opinion, I just don't think you can use too much cheese. Then coarsely black pepper, probably about a tablespoon and a half,
Okay.
and another tablespoon of salt. So I'm gonna put the oven on 350.
Okay.
I'm gonna mix it up, and then together we'll ball them out.
Okay.
You see that Vigo?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Dump that
so,
in. Go ahead and
Yeah,
dump
great.
that in.
The whole thing.
Yeah,
Okay. So we're adding probably what?
I would say
Like
a
and a
cup.
half? Cup. Okay.
And if you want to grab that Italian seasoning, that little, see this?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Okay, so
sprinkle
is-
some of
is
that
it-
in.
okay.
Once you see that the egg is incorporated.
Then that's good enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, they'll become too firm. Then what I do is I put them in the oven just to brown them a little bit.
Okay.
I just leave them in for about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and when they're kind of browned and smelling yummy, then they can meet the sauce, and then the two of them cook together. When the sauce is on the stove, the meatballs will be ready to go in, and then you just leave it, and the longer the better. I'm gonna pop these in the oven, 350, till the sauce is ready. So this is where my brothers and I all went to school at Martin Hughes. At one point we're in the building together because it was a
Fun.
K-12 building.
Oh, that is so fun.
Isn't that cool?
It is so cool. Would you walk to school?
Oh yeah, I always walked to school. And it's, you know, it was a little bit far, but we loved it.
How many people are in Buhl?
When I grew up, there were 1,303. I'm not sure what the sign says now.
Those
but
3, yeah.
This school was the heartbeat of our city. I remember my junior year, I can't remember, I think it was my junior year, I led a walkout.
Oh.
Yeah, there was like we were trying to save Martin Hughes.
If you had to give a 2-minute pitch to somebody on Buhl, what would you say is unique about Buhl?
There's something about this town that is just very, very magical. But if I had only a few minutes, I would say it's like there's a sign out front when you first drive in, and I would say to my friends, it says, "Welcome to Buhl, home of abundant water, land, and good people." That's Buhl. They just wanna, no matter who you are, you're welcome here. I promise you, I've seen it. You're welcome in Buhl. This
whole alley, I
is
can't
everybody. I
even,
mean,
like all the kids would run
Yes.
around and play in here.
And I'm telling you, Richie and Shirley live here still, and Shirley did my hair. She was the town hairstylist.
Sure. Hi, Shirley.
I'm just showing them where I grew up.
Are you excited for the competition?
Yes, I can't wait because I was thinking about what is one of my favorite dishes that my godmother made. Tona was born and raised here, so she's like a pillar of this community. Full Italian. I mean, she was an exceptional cook. She could cook blindfolded. And so I thought of an idea for a hot dish to bring Tona to life. And I don't think I've ever created a dish with more love than this one, so I'm super excited.
Moving on to the sauce,
Yep,
right?
and then we're done. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll put 2 cloves more of garlic.
Okay.
Yeah,
Add
go
the
ahead.
garlic?
Yep.
Okay.
In fact, I would have said that's fine too, but you can just put a clove in because it's all going in the blender.
Okay, so some oregano.
Oregano,
fresh oregano, basil,
yep. And
Italian parsley.
yep, quarter.
Okay, so
Like
you're
I'll
leaving the
just-
skin on.
Yeah, I'll just snip and then boom, boom. But because I can't fit lots in here, I'm gonna do it in a couple different batches. So now, if you have good, like if you have garden tomatoes,
Yes.
obviously, but you have to have some store-bought tomatoes because you want the liquid.
Okay.
And I only get San Marzanos. A little bit of kosher salt,
A little bit.
And notice how everything pretty much has the same, you know, the sauce, the meatballs, Italian seasonings.
So Susie, now you put the canned tomatoes in.
Uh-huh.
If I had fresh garden tomatoes, would I put that in there as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I washed these and I would
Oh,
even
even
put
the
in some
little
cherries.
grape, cherry tomatoes or grape
grape
tomatoes?
tomatoes, yep.
All right.
Because this is a smaller blender, I would have to do a couple batches. And I'm just gonna put it on like really low, like medium low, just to get it bubbling.
We're simmering it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we can get the meatballs in there. I'm just gonna throw them in. And I'm gonna have it on definitely a little bit, there we go. When it's up to a bubble, then I'll drop the heat. So I'll just keep an eye on it.
Please, Susie, tell me what you think is the most quintessential ingredient in a recipe.
Well, I think my first thought is just to go to the garden because interestingly enough, all of the women in my life prepared the food, but all of the men were exceptional gardeners. And my dad had the most amazing garden because his dad was a beautiful gardener. So when I think of ingredients of my childhood and what sort of drove me to my cooking today, I love fresh ingredients.
Can you name like even one that's just like a staple that you absolutely cannot live without?
I'm gonna say rhubarb.
Rhubarb.
That was my favorite thing in the garden because we would just grab a stalk and run around and eat it with a bag of sugar while we were playing. You know?
Eat it raw, right?
Yep, right out of the garden. We didn't wash it. Drank out of a hose. The good old days. Okay, so we have potatoes. They've been riced.
Okay.
And I seasoned the water with salt. A little more salt. You know, it's kind of like when you make pasta. I put a little bit of a well in the center, and then I'll crack my 2 eggs. Just want the egg to be in the center so that I can incorporate everything.
Okay. All right.
So this is 16 ounces of whole milk
Okay.
ricotta. I'm putting in half, so about 8 ounces.
Okay.
Now we need a little Parmesan. We don't need a lot.
Paprika?
I put a little bit of fresh herbs, and then this is the thing about pasta. I'll tell you right now, I started with a cup, but it's all about the feel. So
Okay.
now the key thing is I need to incorporate the egg.
I feel like I'm getting introduced into a family secret here now.
It's not as look at how easy. I mean, there's probably 5 ingredients in here. The hard part that people are intimidated about pasta is they think they don't think they'll get the consistency right, but it's really just all about the feel. Now that the sauce is kind of going,
Yes.
I'm gonna
take a peek.
I'm gonna put a half a can of tomato paste. It just
Okay.
gives it a little more thickness and then a little more depth there. So I'm just gonna leave that again, and the paste will do its thing. So now we're ready for the gnocchi. Just think about making like Play-Doh when you were a kid, and you're gonna make a long snake.
And then
So
republic.
check this out. This is
Right.
how Nana did it. She wouldn't use a pastry cutter, she'd just use a knife. But hello! And here's what she'd do. Bloom. And she would do it, I bet 5 times faster than I'm doing it right now. And that little crease captures the sauce. You know how some people do the
Yes.
board and they make the fancy creases? That's all so that the sauce traps in. But Nana just did them like that, and that's it. And then we lay them out and we freeze them. Yep. So go watch, go down and roll, down and roll. There you go.
All right, I have to try this pastry cutter, Susie.
Okay.
You're cutting and you're
oh my
cutting
gosh,
this.
You're totally.
Is this
Just think small.
I'm not as fast as you?
Perfect. We'll boil them up and serve them. You just want to be careful that you don't burn yourself. We'll use a slotted spoon. Now, right when I drop them, I want to move them around a little bit. Then we'll just wait for a few minutes,
Oh,
and then
so now like one is floating already. Does that mean
Yep.
it's done?
when they float, they're pretty much ready. I'm gonna take some sauce. I'll even actually use a ladle to get enough in. My nana would just, this is how she'd serve the gnocchi.
Oh,
So
yes.
she'd serve the gnocchi on the table, and then we would plate, and then we would add more sauce.
Sure.
You know. So I'm gonna show you guys.
They're beautiful.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I see how the sauce is in there in the little bowls.
Exactly. I'm channeling Nana.
Yeah, here's the finale. Okay, that's. It's like, oh my gosh, that looks so good. Okay, a little bit of herbs. Okay, a little dressing on there, garnish.
Yeah. I usually don't let someone try before I do, so let's just be.
We can do it together.
And then Nana, when Nana was ready, when it was time to eat, then it would be manja manja.
What does that mean?
Manja manja macaron. It means come eat.
Manja manja, should I yell?
Manja manja.
Manja manja. How does it make you feel when your family and friends eat your food that you prepare?
That's my favorite part, really it is, because I just love, I think that's what I get from what I observed through my childhood is we weren't big on cooking in the kitchen, but we could be in the kitchen and see everything. And that's what I love today is cooking for anybody and everybody. I mean, in all kinds of situations. And for them to be fed and to feel good and to smile and say thank you so much and it was so good, that's the best, you know. This whole experience to be able to cook for my town, and I'm confident that the people here know that how much I love being from here. So I would say to Buhl, thank you, and all of the Buhl community. They made me who I am today.
Sole all'alba ineffabilmente brilli con una luminosità incomparabile.
Are you excited to meet the other cooks in the competition?
I'm so curious. I think we're all gonna love each other's creations. So I think hopefully we'll all just think, whoever wins, we all won, you know. But with that said, I want them to lovingly know that they don't have a prayer.
Come il sole eterno, pieno di saggezza, splendi.
Bringing a community together with family recipes, Susie knows the value of sharing a good meal. But this isn't the last we'll see of Susie either. She'll be back for our competition, and I know her sense of humor will liven up the greenhouse. Want to make Susie's gnocchi red sauce and meatballs at home? We've got you covered. This recipe and all the others from this show will be posted on our website. Sharon and Susie also made a stuffed pepper soup for our companion series, Just a Bite, only on Instagram. It's posted now, so go check it out. We've got one more cook to meet. Or is it two? You'll have to come back next time to find out. But here's a sneak peek.
Oh, this is beautiful.
You can be doing something your whole life and you're like, oh, this is cool, this is what I do. And then you fall into something that you actually love and it's a different feeling. My name is Tamara Tanksley. I'm the executive chef here at the Black Boy Restaurant in Vergas, Minnesota. I've been here 13 years. Went to culinary school in Moorhead, Minnesota. And been cooking for the last 13 years. Fell in love with it here in this state. And yeah, and I've been off and running ever since.
Funding for the Great Minnesota Recipe is provided by Doherty Appliance Service and Sales, the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, and viewers like you. Thank you.